Today, Janet and John are going to the seaside. John is very excited. John likes the seaside. Janet is making bloater paste sandwiches. John does not like bloater paste. Do you know what dry heaves are? John does. Soon it is time for Janet and John to catch the bus at the end of the lane. Janet gives John a barley sugar twist to suck. Janet has to wipe John's beard with a wet hanky. See John wriggle. When they arrive at the seaside, Janet gives John his bucket and spade, his sandwiches, and some money to spend on the pier. Janet says, "I'm going to the bingo now. I'll see you by the candy floss stall in an hour. If you've been a good boy, you can have some candy floss." John skips down to the pier. John likes the pier. See John throw his sandwiches to the seagulls. John goes to the shellfish stall and buys some winkles.
There's a red flag here.
No, wait a moment.
John likes shellfish. John sees Mrs. Bickerdike. "Hello, Mrs. Bickerdike," says John. "Hey up, fluffy whiskers," says Mrs. Bickerdike. Mrs. Bickerdike is from Yorkshire. See Jeremy Clarkson. "What are you doing here?" says John. Mrs. Bickerdike says, "I came down for the American ice cream tasting. They're trying out some new flavours. Are those winkles any good? I bet they aren't as good as they are down in Devon. They do them hot from the pan with cider vinegar down there. I'll be having some of them next week when I go on holiday. Now, I can't stand here listening to you all day. I'm going to pop me flip-flops on and take the whippet for a walk on the beach." Do you know how to get a word in edgeways? John doesn't. John walks down to the beach and makes a big sand castle. Soon it is time to go back to meet Janet. See John cross the road, stand by the candy floss stall. Janet sees John. "Hello, John," says Janet. "What have you been doing?" "Well," says John.
John.
This is where the story really starts. "I walked down to the pier to look at the stalls, and I saw Mrs. Bickerdike. Mrs. Bickerdike had just spent all afternoon tasting Ben & Jerry's. Next week she's going to Devon to get some hot winkles and cider. Then she got her flip-flops out and said it was time to let her whippet out on the beach."
It covers everything, really, doesn't it?
"Can I have some candy floss now?" See Janet push John's head into the candy floss machine and switch it on. See John go pink and fluffy. Poor John.